My girlfriend is having an identity crisis and it's straining our relationship.
She thinks she's all that, but she's not.
Me, 28 male, and Sarah, 28 female, met in undergraduate school about 10 years ago. Back then, we weren't really friends, but the times I met her, I always found her extremely attractive and super intelligent.
Ooh.
After college, I lost contact with her, although we were Facebook friends. But 2 years ago, when I moved across the country for business school, I found out she was finishing her doctoral degree at the same university. So I contacted her, and as we were both single, we hit it off and started dating soon after. By the way, this comes from It's Been Bean, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, Sarah is originally from Iran. She immigrated to the States when she was 15 with her family because her family belongs to a religion that is heavily persecuted there. Although English is her second language, she speaks it like a native and has no hint of a foreign accent. Sarah is also naturally blonde with fair skin and blue eyes. Her features are extremely Northern European looking, except for her thick eyebrows, full black eyelashes, and lips. Because of her perfect American accent and her very blonde and fair features, nobody believes that she is Middle Eastern. When we first started dating, she wasn't bothered by her European looks and made jokes of it. The rest of her family aren't blonde, and some of them look typically Middle Eastern. She never discussed race and ethnicity before and didn't react when people didn't believe that she was from Iran. However, 6 months ago, she went for a postdoctoral training in Europe, and when she came back, her attitude changed drastically. She kept complaining about white people and how they try to wipe out the West from people of color like her. She gets annoyed that people refer to her as white because of her features. She said that she's not white, and it annoys her when people don't believe that she's Iranian. She keeps making jokes about white people and typical white things people do, and when I tell her it's ridiculous of her making those jokes while she's as white as it comes, she gets pissed and snaps at me. Now, aside from those comments, I think she's going a bit crazy with this non-white identity thing. Getting fed up with people assuming that she's of European descent, she dyed her hair completely black, put on dark contact lenses, and started using these tanning products, which look completely awful. She also started using a fake accent to sound more foreign. I find these behaviors completely out of character. She's always been logical, intelligent, and never acted like this before. She's almost 30, and it seems crazy to have this identity rebellion while not a teenager. When I try to talk to her about the behavior, she says that I'm just being typical white high class. I don't know what to do. I'm just hoping it's a phase and she'll return to normal. She's the most beautiful, intelligent, and nicest girl I've met, and I'm afraid of this behavior being a deal breaker. And there is an update, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that could be something that you need to reflect on in yourself, of not like how you think about her race or anything, but just like how you would go about her own issues, because it kind of feels like, you know, saying that she's being ridiculous, saying that she's like crazy. Those aren't things that you want to say to your girlfriend who's going through some problems, especially when they're problems that like you couldn't understand.
Identity crisis, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he even acknowledged that. Like, he even called it that, and he's still kind of like disregarding it in a way. So it's like, if he really has a problem with it, like, I feel like subconsciously it probably comes from a supportive spot for him of just like, you don't have to change yourself. I don't understand like the feeling of needing to change yourself to like appear differently to others, but you know, I feel like that would just be more of a conversation. He should just be a little bit more understanding about that. So hopefully this doesn't become a deal breaker. But we do have an update. So I was going to give a long, detailed update on what Sarah told me after we had a long heart-to-heart discussion, which cleared up a lot of things. However, a lot has happened since the last week, which I need advice on. So I will try to shortly summarize our talk the day after the post and then come to current events. When I posted my original post, I got a variety of responses ranging on how I'm not acknowledging her identity to how she's white because Iranian means belonging to the Aryan race and therefore her being white. So I decided to approach her by not confronting her on her behavior and ask what happened in Europe and that I would like to understand her feelings and POV better. She told me as a kid in Iran, the concept of race was different. Everyone was considered Iranian and generally speaking white, no matter how dark or white you were, but it didn't have the same meaning of being white in the States. She said, however, the prejudice people faced there was never because of ethnicity or skin color, but it was due to religion or political position and faced by the government and not people in general. However, her family belonged to a religion that was treated badly, And she was scared of people finding out, and that sometimes she would pretend to be Muslim in school because she was scared of her friends finding out and treating her differently. Now, when she moved to the States, she had a vision of living in a place that everyone is treated equally with equal opportunities, and she would no longer have to hide that part of her identity.
And then you have people just assuming that that part of her identity doesn't even exist.
Yeah. So unfortunately, she learned that that wasn't the case. She moved right after the 9/11 attacks, where people started fearing Middle Eastern people and discriminating against them. She witnessed a lot of racism when she would tell people where she was from. She said a lot of people she knew in the Persian community started hiding their origins and would lie about where they were from, fearing for their safety. Yeah. After a while, she managed to further Americanize her accent, and given her very blonde features, she managed to blend in and would lie about her origins when people asked about her exotic name and last name. She says she feels like a hypocrite since the day she started lying about her religion to her friends when she was in Iran, while people of her religion would sacrifice their lives not to hide it, and then hiding her ancestry and culture in order not to face discrimination. Going to Europe made things worse. She was mocked by a lot of Europeans for her American culture. She was liked by a lot of neo-Nazis who basically wanted to wipe Middle Easterns from Europe, telling her things not knowing she was Iranian as well. Yeah, that's got to be so difficult. Yeah.
It's just like the feeling of guilt that she must feel as like a woman who can assimilate effectively, or
and then like, the fear too of like, what if they find out?
And fear, yes, absolutely.
So a lot of her Middle Eastern friends would accuse her of faking a white European look and would not believe her that she naturally looks like that. She said a lot of emotions were brought up and lots of other examples from her past, she told me. So now she wants to make up for the times that she hid her identity. She thinks by looking like a traditional looking Persian, she can make a statement about who she is. I asked about her fake accent. She said she's not trying to fake a Persian accent because that's not how her new accent sounds like. She said she hated how her friends in Europe made fun of American accents and told her that she sounds like a Valley girl. She said she's just trying to sound less Valley-like and go back to what was once her normal accent, which she's not sure anymore how it sounded like.
That's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
To like, again, have to assimilate or feel like you have to assimilate for your own safety and lose your accent. And then people are now telling you, oh, like, why do you sound like that?
Yeah.
And then you have to try and get back, but you don't even remember what it was.
Yeah, literally, like, everywhere she goes, which are incredibly different places in the whole world, she's being told that she has to act different because of her race, or she's
like so complicated.
Yikes. That night, I did empathize with what she told me, although I wasn't convinced of the passive aggression she'd been showing towards white people. I tried to address it, and she denied any animosity and said that she's only stating the fact about white culture and how the majority of white people in Western world are acting, and that she's not being hateful at all. I decided not to argue about it because I saw how it made her upset and stir up things. I just noticed that she would get so touchy about the subject. Anyway, I decided to just change subjects and asked her to introduce me more to Persian culture and that we could go to some cultural events together. She seemed enthusiastic about the idea. That's a great idea. However, things took some severe turns in the past few days.
No.
This Friday, we got invited to a friend's birthday party. We had both planned in advance to go and had picked up a gift from both of us. I called her while I was at work if she could come to my place and we could go together. She tells me that she can't go because she needs to work on her resume to apply for a new job. She's currently very stressed about finding new jobs, but it's nothing out of the ordinary for her. I got angry and told her that she can't just cancel last minute like that. And she then just explodes and starts rambling about 100 different things that she's mad at me about. She spoke so fast and aggrieved that I couldn't follow what she was talking about. She told me not to pick her up and that she's not coming to the party. I was pissed and confused and went to the party without her. I expected a text or a call later that she would apologize to me and the friends, but I didn't hear anything from her. I didn't hear anything on Sunday either and was tempted to text to check up on her, but didn't because she should be the one contacting me. On Monday, not hearing anything for 2 days, I got worried and gave up and called and texted her, but got no reply. I'm thinking she's acting like a little kid with unfounded aggression, but then on Monday, I got a call from her parents that they haven't heard anything about her and are asking me about her whereabouts. This is getting a little scary now. They live in West Coast and we are in the East Coast currently. Now, I became really worried. I went to her place Monday night, but no one was there. Now I'm starting to panic and have no idea what's happening. I've contacted everyone she knows in our city, and no one knows where she is. I'm worried like crazy. I don't know what I should do, if I should call the police or just wait for her to contact. If her parents didn't call to ask, I would have assumed that she was just angry at me, but now I don't know what to think. And we do have an update, but oh my gosh, I'm scared too now.
Yeah.
This is a completely different problem than what we had before.
Things have progressed.
Yeah. Yikes. I kind of want to just go into the update because I really need to know.
I'm worried.
So update number 2. I texted and emailed Sarah again with a message that I'm just extremely worried about her, and so are her parents, and I just want to know if she's safe. Many suggested to call the police, but I thought I would wait a little bit more before doing it. A few hours ago, Sarah called me crying and said that she's in the hospital. She went to a clinic on Saturday to ask if she could get some pills to calm her down because she was panicking and stressed about some job decision and had an extreme headache. She said that she had a lot of headaches and it wouldn't stop, so she took about 6 to 8 Excedrins in a few hours, and it wasn't helping. 6 to 8,
you can't
anything
take-
in
yeah,
a few
dude.
hours, not good. So she went to a clinic, and they told her that the amount of acetaminophen could be toxic for her liver and told her to go to the ER. By the way, I'm going to tell you to go to your favorite podcast app. That's Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple Podcasts, whatever you choose. Just search OK Storytime, because you're going to find full episodes with more stories just like this one. But I'm just going to keep reading
Yeah.
Yep.
because, oh my gosh. At the hospital, they tested her and her blood result was totally fine, but decided to commit her into the psych unit involuntarily to further evaluate her. She told me that she thought she would be released the day after, but they're not letting her until they're sure that she's safe. She refused to call me, her family, or any other friend because she was too embarrassed to being in a psych unit. However, she learned that they would probably not let her out soon until they're sure that she has a support unit, and seeing my message, how everyone is worried and looking for her, she decided to tell me. The hospital told me that I could visit her during the visiting hours later today, so I will go then and see what I can do. She told me to just make something up to her parents for now and see what happens when she gets out. I'm just glad that she's safe, and we'll find out more later in the morning when I visit her. Thanks, Reddit, for your support. And that's it. Oh my
Dang.
gosh. Wow.
Dang.
That was crazy. That was wild.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like taking like 8 Excedrin is like well, clearly this person is like a risk to their own safety. It's like more like that's
Sure.
just like it's like a very dumb brain. Like I don't understand how medications work thing to do
Yeah.
possibly. And it's
Yeah.
like clearly her liver levels were fine. It's like she didn't take anywhere near enough to like severely like hurt her. Whoever told her that was just being safe, better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
But like, you know, clearly, I
Yeah.
mean, that's 400 milligrams of caffeine.
That's a lot.
It's, you know, a lot. It's
Yeah.
not gonna, and that's not gonna kill you or anything, but it's a lot.
Yeah. Because, I mean, yeah, it probably is just that, like, they, like, want to make sure she's okay, and they don't know her. So they probably are, like, they don't know if this is, like, a normal occurrence that she usually does. So, yeah, hopefully things will turn out, and she's,
Yeah.
and the boyfriend OP can vouch for her and explain that, like, no, this isn't normal.
My boyfriend dislikes dogs. Should I break up with him?
Yes!
My boyfriend, Paul, 25 male, and I, 22 female, met in college at a seminar and hit it off right away. We were really obnoxiously sappy and had a lot of fun together. I let him know right off the bat that I loved dogs and had 2 big dogs, Bub, a Mastiff mix, and Red, a German Shepherd. I also let him know that I regularly fostered, volunteered, and did basic obedience/behavioral training for various agencies. By the way, this comes from Throw It Away 3. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, he told me that he loved dogs. He even offered to go to dog parks, training seminars, and jogging with me, Bub, and Red. I was over the moon because now I could spend time with my favorite person and my little buddies. I began to notice that sometimes Paul would be standoffish around dogs when he thought I wasn't paying attention, and Bub and Red never took to him. I later found out it was because he'd only touch or play with them while I was around, and he'd ignore them when I wasn't. I chalked it up to the fact that he had small dogs as a child and wasn't used to large ones. Also, they can be somewhat intimidating when you meet them due to their size. More red flags appeared when we'd spend most of the time at my place because it was really big and I lived by myself while he lived with 3 roommates. He started dropping hints about us moving in together a year ago, but I told him I wasn't comfortable with that until he was financially responsible. He has over $100,000 in debt. Oof, and being in grad school kept that number climbing. And we wouldn't be moving in together until he could pay his portion of the rent. I rent, quote unquote, for my dad for around $2,000 a month, and he can barely pay the $300 for his current place. This made him mad, and he'd make passive-aggressive comments about Bub, Red, and my freeloading foster dogs. So that's when you break up with him right there.
Your dogs aren't
Freeloading?
even paying rent.
That's crazy.
These dogs need jobs. He was also insanely jealous of Max, the dog trainer and sitter I use.
Oh boy.
I knew Max when he first opened his business with his best friend, and have always used their services for Bub and Red, mainly because they have seriously good credentials, give me great training demonstrations and advice for free. Their training methods are compatible with my dogs, and I receive half off for being their first/longtime customer. Paul would make rude comments about him, was really jealous, and when I pick up my dogs from their office, he'd complain about the office smelling like crap. It doesn't. They've house-trained all the dogs, they sit, and keep it spotless. Then he would tell me to go myself. But if I stay for more than 5 minutes, he'd barge in and make a big deal about taking forever, even though I tell him I'm going to take 10 minutes to go over their training and their day. I guess what made me break it off, nice, is that Red is a dog I fostered, then adopted after I left my parents' home for college. When I first got him, he was a horribly behaved, skinny dog with human and dog aggression. I worked for a year to getting him used to other people and dogs to curb his aggression, plus constant obedience training, a strict diet and exercise, so he'd become the perfect angel he is today.
Lovely.
He's around 6 years old and is a purebred German Shepherd of dubious origin, meaning that there might be a host of genetic problems that I don't know about and can't even track his pedigree to find out. Over the past month, he's not as active, is losing his appetite, and has lost a lot of weight.
No.
I have paid thousands to have every test done and have gone to numerous vets and specialists, but they still don't know the problem. I'm watching my baby boy wither away in front of me, but all Paul has done is insult me for wasting money on a lost cause.
Oh my gosh. You can't be you can't be insulting the dog and against the dog in any case. But you especially can't be doing that when the dog is going through this hard time. That is the worst time to talk about that.
Ugh. So he made a comment yesterday about how I've never lent him that much money, and when he bites the dust, that'll free up some space.
Damn.
Ooh.
I hate this man. OP says, I hate showing extreme emotions and prefer to have calm discussions, but I blew up and we got into our first screaming match, and it should be your last, where I basically asked what his problem was, and he admitted that he lied about loving dogs because he thought a girl like me would never date him unless he did, and that he hates/is jealous of my dogs, thinks dogs are disgusting, and can't wait until my dogs pass away because then he can finally move in and they'll be out of our lives.
That is incredibly pathetic.
God.
It's pathetic. You're jealous of dogs. I had a man once say that I couldn't call my dogs cutie because I called him that.
Wow.
It's so pathetic. And especially what this guy is saying of like, oh, I had to lie about myself for a girl like you to love me. You had to lie about who you are and what you like and keep up that lie around her just so that she can love you. Like, dude, that's so stupid.
It's guys like this that make me understand why women would pick the bear. So this all ended with me screaming for him to get out. He refused to leave at first, but eventually left after I threatened to call the cops. After he was gone, I texted that we were done. I ended up sitting on the floor crying and hugging my babies.
Yeah.
He's been teetering between texting insults and apologies. I blocked his number, but I guess he told all our friends that I'm crazy and I broke up with him out of the blue over a mutt. Some have messaged me about what my effing problem is. I'm a psycho loser for dumping him. It's just an effing mutt.
Well, yeah,
and you can
anyone
just
who
block
says
all those
that,
people.
Anyone who texts you, it's just an effing mutt, I would say, I hate you, don't talk to me.
I would
Yeah.
say, let's look at your ancestry.
Yeah.
I broke up after an argument with him during an emotionally charged situation, something I'm not used to. He's really passive-aggressive sometimes, but that was the first time he said anything like that. My question is, should I contact him to talk now that we've both had time to calm down? No! No! What's there to talk about? It was really fun spending time with him, even though the whole thing was built on a lie the whole time. Plus, I'm not sure if he really feels that way about Bub and Red because he's never been cruel to them or mistreated them. I think it might be because he's frustrated I refused to let him move in. No, he just told you the truth and you need to hear it and believe it. Also, how do I handle the friends situation? Our friends seem to have developed an extremely negative opinion of me and won't stop sending me texts about my how I was being, see you next Tuesday. You just say, this guy was telling me he can't wait for my dog to.
Yeah. Like, let me inform you a little bit from my
Yeah.
perspective.
What do you think about that? And if they still are like, you're wrong, bye. Goodbye. Not my friend anymore. Thank you for all your advice and concern. When this was posted, I hadn't slept and my thoughts were all over the place. Honestly, besides Paul, I don't interact with anyone in a friendly setting besides my dogs and Max, which is why I think he hates them so much. Date Max. Rereading my post and every reply and personal message, I feel disgusted with myself for even thinking about contacting him or subjecting my babies to his presence.
Yay.
He has taken to texting and calling me from different numbers, so I just sent him one
Nice.
message via Facebook telling him not to contact me and blocked him. I've decided to cut off all of his friends. I don't need that in my life. I've also set an appointment with my vet to discuss the possibility that Red may have been poisoned or slowly poisoned.
Oh my
Whoa.
gosh, can you imagine?
Jail. Straight to jail.
Honestly, I feel like you could do something.
Yeah,
that's
no,
like
that's animal abuse.
yeah.
You send him to jail. Someone messaged me asking why I really liked him, and I'll address that here. He's the first guy besides Max to approach me without flirting or an ulterior motive. I grew up my whole life being told that my looks were most important and my goal in life should be marrying someone who was at least as wealthy as my dad. Funny story, when my mom paid attention to me, it was to share life advice like, sweetie, you better hope you grow into your nose because Dr. John, her plastic surgeon, might retire by the time your face figures out if it wants to be ugly.
Oh my god, that kept getting so much worse.
Dang.
That one
Dang.
statement.
Sounds like that mom who just likes to drink red wine and take
Yeah.
Xanax. His apparent disinterest regarding my physical appearance made me really happy, and the fact that he didn't fit into the grand plan my parents set made me feel like I was making my own choice. Right now, my dogs are ignoring me because I got their fur all wet. I'm getting them a squeaky toy today to make up for it.
Oh.
And there is an important update here. Do we have any
Excited
thoughts
to see
before? I mean, clearly,
Yeah,
you've left the man.
that's great. Yeah, I think those are understandable, reasons to kind of stay with someone and to it's understandable to think those things. But hopefully after this, you'll learn that like that's not the only requirement. There's a lot more boxes that someone needs to check off, and that doesn't mean that they're like the best person to stay with. I'm sure she'll learn that.
Update. Most important update, Red is doing better. I went to a
Yay.
holistic vet and took their advice on switching him from a conventional kibble diet to a raw diet with supplements, and it was like a miracle. He ate everything and has been putting on weight.
Woohoo!
Plus, his activity level shot through the roof, and he's happier because he can go on small hikes and go swimming again. It's only been 2 weeks since the change, but Bub and I have our buddy back, and it's the best. I've done a lot of thinking, and they say hindsight is 20/20, but I still feel bad. I had this realization that I clung on to Paul because I've spent years isolating myself from everyone. It was easier to rely on him than to put myself out there and interact. When we first met, he made the effort to hang out. When he wanted to date, I agreed because I was lonely and he was fun and sweet. He'd talk so I didn't have to, and he dictated the standards of our relationship. I also think that he liked me because of that. He didn't need to worry about other people talking to me because I didn't have anyone else. Maybe in the beginning he put up with my dogs because they were the lesser of two evils, but he still hated them because they were something I loved and cared about that wasn't him. I also think that's the same reason he hated Max, because I could actually talk to him like a friend, and Paul felt threatened. I'm also at fault for the problems in our relationship. I used Paul as an outlet for human interaction. Well, he's your boyfriend, so that's fair. And an excuse not to need to get to know people. Well, that's just codependency. I always made excuses for issues that arose during our relationship because addressing them scared me. I never told him if I didn't like something, and I just smiled at everything. I think that's why he thought that without my dogs, our life would be picture perfect. I'd always concede to whatever he wanted, except when it came to them and finances. The finance part is mainly because I lent him money in the beginning of our relationship, and he never paid me back. Sweetie, I feel like you found a guy who just, saw you as a target. He's like, oh, here's a woman who will do whatever I say. Plus, my money is from my dad and inheritance from my grandpa, and I feel like a leech if I spend it frivolously. I didn't contact Paul, but I did reach out to his best friend, James, who didn't bother me after the breakup, and asked if he could stop by my place to pick up Paul's things. I asked him if he could come alone because I didn't want to see Paul, and he agreed. But when he came, I saw Paul with him, but standing behind a pillar. I asked the security guard to take the box out to them and went back to my condo.
Smart. That was very smart. What? Paul was hiding?
I was told by the front desk later that day that Paul tried to get inside but was stopped by security, and he ended up causing some damage to the lobby. My dad found out, and he doesn't want me living there anymore, so I'll be moving in April.
Good.
I've started trying to meet new people and make some friends. It's been somewhat hard, but Max is helping. New boyfriend. He set up a group dog hike with all his clients. Nothing breaks the ice as well as a group of dogs. Bub and his greyhound girlfriend spent the entire time ignoring everyone and canoodling, which was so cute. I met a lot of nice people, and we planned some play dates, and a nice couple invited me to lunch. I found out Max has never watched a single Marvel movie, so we're going to marathon them all at my place.
Uh-oh. I like where this is going.
I also went to a board game night with some people I volunteer with. We played Settlers of Catan, Monopoly, and Forbidden Island. Board games are fun. And by the way, it's also fun to listen to full episodes with stories like this on your favorite podcast platform. Just search OK Storytime, and you can listen to all of the stories. We have a little bit left here. I think let's just finish it off, huh?
Let's do it. Go ahead.
My sister called me up asking if I could convince our dad to let her stay at his beach house for spring break. She didn't want to ask him herself because last year she and her friends trashed it. I offered to let her and her boyfriend stay with me instead. She asked about Paul, and I told her about our breakup. She was very sympathetic and sweet until I finished, and then she laughed at me, told me I was dumb, and that she's telling Mom. Later, Mom called to gloat about how she was right about Paul being crappy and the consequences of not listening to her, and to tell me she's setting me up with her friend's sons because I'll fail if I do anything myself.
Oh my God.
I told her, don't set me up, but she gave my number to a bunch of people and set up dates without asking. Guess what? You don't have to go to them.
True.
I'm trying to power through and focus on myself and my babies. Thank you, everyone, for your advice. Whenever I have moments of weakness, I just reread the entire thread. It's been very helpful, and I'm working hard to apply a lot of the comments to my life.
Nice.
And that is the end of that story.
Look
Wow.
at that. Look at that. Our neighbor is flirting with my boyfriend, but he doesn't think it's a problem.
Yeah, because I don't like her.
I'll start this off by saying that I, 26 female, trust my boyfriend, 31 male, and his bond with me. We've been together for 5 years. I just don't trust his judgment when it comes to minimizing situations and setting boundaries, and I don't like that this situation is making me feel gaslit and crazy. I feel like there's no way to deal with this situation without coming off as controlling, and I don't know what to do. By the way, this comes from a throwaway flirty to boyfriend, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, an important piece of context to the story is that my boyfriend is Asian. I'll refer to my boyfriend as Alex and his neighbor as June. This story starts off in early December when Alex and I were in the mood for some spicy Korean food and met up after work at a restaurant. It was a regular food outing with nothing out of the ordinary. The waitress didn't treat us in any suspicious way at all and didn't seem overly familiar with us either. Nothing suspicious to report. About a week after that outing, Alex sends me a message that reads, "You'll never guess who lives in my apartment complex." The waitress from that Korean restaurant. And I chatted to her. Her name is June. I think you and her would be good friends. Okay, this is honestly starting out not bad.
Not bad.
I laughed at the coincidence and thought so too, happy that Alex and I might have a new friend. The next day, I asked Alex about how he and June started chatting. Alex explained that while he was getting into the elevator, he was joined by this girl who was chatting on the phone with someone. He said that when she saw him, her reaction was to make a strange sound between a gasp and a squeal, and she immediately put the person on phone on hold. She immediately started chatting with Alex, explaining that she was our waitress at the Korean restaurant introduced herself as June and that she'd seen him around the apartment building for weeks now and always wanted to talk to him. Okay, getting into suspicious territory.
All right,
now.
immediately not chill at all.
Yeah. I feel
Giggle
like-
and squeal and say, I've been waiting for you to talk to
Yeah. And then immediately.
Actually, let me introduce you to my girlfriend.
Right. Finally, after seeing him at the Korean restaurant with me, she decided to chat to him. June mentioned seeing his car coming and going and how much she loves K-pop, Asian customs and snacks, etc. Apparently, she was talking like a runaway train about anything and everything, mostly about how much she likes Asian things. During this ambient conversation, they walked into her apartment door so that she could offload her bags. Alex said that he got off on her floor as to not be rude by holding the elevator. So the conversation turned to the apartment building and the units themselves. My boyfriend's apartment is a 2-bedroom place while hers is a 1-bedroom place, so at that point they started talking about how the layout of the 2 apartments differ. June invited herself to come look at Alex's apartment, and him being so kind allowed her to come and see it. It was at this point that she mentioned that the person she put on hold in the elevator was her mom and that she just needed to quickly end the call with her before coming over to look at the apartment. Only after she was their waitress, where she saw him with his girlfriend, did she think, okay, now it's my time to eventually find him in the apartment building and start talking to him. It's not that she just kind of like saw him and thought that they would be friends or something like that. Like she probably would have kept holding herself back if they didn't have this conversation starter. This is weird. This is very weird.
It is weird, dude.
It's very, very
It
weird.
is weird. Undeniably weird.
Alex said that June showed up 10 minutes later with some snacks and her phone charger, asking him if he'd mind if she charged her phone while they chat. This chat turned into a 2-hour-long conversation. I'm like worried for his safety, not even just their relationship.
I'd
I'm
be worried
like,
about everything. I'd be like, oh my God, someone could just walk down the street and next thing you know, he'd be like, hey babe, can I borrow some money? I accidentally drained my entire bank account
right,
for somebody just because they asked me to, I guess. I don't know.
right.
I was
Like,
talking to them for 45 minutes. The next thing I knew, I had signed them onto all of my bank accounts.
yeah, like can you help me look for a new place? Because this girl, like, we were chatting and she just brought over a sleeping bag and said, oh, can I stay here for a little bit? Now she won't
Crazy.
leave. So, in this conversation, Alex discovered that June had recently broken up with her ex-boyfriend, who is also Asian. Alex told me that during this conversation, he constantly mentioned that he has a girlfriend and brought me and my interests up constantly. He says that he kept telling her how well she and I would get along as friends. She only mentioned that she wants to be friends with him. However, I was shocked by this situation, especially because it seemed like June had no concept of boundaries since she'd been watching him for weeks, invited herself over to his place, and hung up on her mom to talk to him. And also, because he only told me about the extent of their conversation the next day. But I didn't get angry. I just had a conversation with Alex that this situation is extremely uncomfortable and a bit stalkerish if she'd been watching him for weeks. He wholeheartedly assured me that it was innocent and that June just wanted to be friends. I also told him that I'm happy for him to make friends and I'd give her a shot at being friends as well, so long as the next time they met up in person, it was all of us together so that I could also get a feel of her. The next time Alex told me about June was to tell me that she had asked him out on a date. This girl. Clueless. So to clarify, Alex doesn't see it as a date and is playing it down. But the situation is as follows. It was a Friday evening and she called him to ask if he wanted to go to a fancy restaurant with her since she has a reservation for 2 and the other person can't make it. Alex and I already had our own dinner plans, so he declined. When Alex told me about this, I was upset. You don't pay for a reservation. There was no reason why she couldn't go alone, cancel, or postpone the reservation, or ask one of her friends to go with. And the fact that it was a reservation for 2 people on a Friday night at a fancy restaurant set off alarm bells to me.
Yeah, she definitely made that reservation for the 2 of you, my guy.
Absolutely. She schemed this whole thing of like, oh, like I'm gonna hang up to talk to you, but secretly to like go to your apartment. So of course she can scheme with this thing. It's such an easier scheme to do. My goodness. So this situation upset me because Alex kept trying to play it down as a friendly gesture and told me that I'm wrong for labeling it as a date. He kept saying that he already told her that he has a girlfriend multiple times and that she wouldn't make moves on him because he has a girlfriend. I asked him to tell June that I was uncomfortable with the situation and set a boundary with her. He told me that he didn't want to cause a scene or create drama, but that he won't talk to her or befriend her. That upset me more as well because I feel like he's making me into the barrier of not being able to be friends with this girl while my actual request was to set a boundary. Cue to this Friday, Alex and I were on a short weekend vacation to the beach with some friends of his. I'm quite tired, so I'm relaxing in the room with the door open. Alex mentioned earlier that he was posting some of the pictures to Instagram, and from the room I heard him chatting with his friend about who had commented on his story since they have many mutual friends. Then I hear Alex tell his friend, "It feels like half our city is also here this weekend." His voice dropped to a whisper, but I still heard him. "There's a girl from my apartment complex here too, but OP doesn't like her." Uh-oh.
You're being followed around, my
Uh-oh.
guy.
Uh-oh.
Is this rage bait? Is
What?
there any man out there who's this oblivious?
At that moment, it felt like the fury of 1,000 suns entered my blood, and I shot up to enter the conversation. There's only one person in Alex's apartment complex that he would describe as me not liking. I didn't even know that Alex had added her on Instagram, and even more awful, that it felt like he was telling his friend my dislike of her was unwarranted. So I entered the room and loudly said, "That's because she asked you out on a date. She had a date reservation for 2 at a fancy restaurant and asked you." He tried to downplay it again and said, "No, it's only because the other person couldn't come." And I retaliated by saying, "So she asked you." His friend made a grimace, gave a chuckle, clearly not about to take sides, and slid backwards into their room. I asked Alex to explain, and apparently June had seen his story and spoke to him about how she was also in the area. It sounds innocent, but I didn't look at the messages, so I don't know if she asked him to meet up or anything. By the way, I'm going to ask you to go find full stories with more episodes like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime, and there is a little bit more to the story, but I'm kind of confused about the little area, like being in the area. I thought they were in his apartment. The title was literally like, "Oh, she's just flirting with my boyfriend." She's stalking him.
Yeah.
She's watching his car come in and out of the apartment, like talking to him about Asian culture and stuff when we don't necessarily know her racial background, but I'm kind of assuming from how it was written that she's not Asian and she's just being really weird about that. And then you guys go away for a weekend vacation, and coincidentally, oh my gosh, she's there too. No way, I'm in town. We should hang out. There's a little bit more to the story. So because we were on vacation and I didn't want to ruin the trip because of a seemingly innocent Instagram DM, I decided to not press any further. My modus operandi is to let things like this go, but it's been days and I'm still super upset. I'm upset that I'm not being taken seriously and that I'm being painted as the villain. I feel humiliated that I needed to defend myself in front of his friend. I feel like I'm being made into the problem and I don't know what to do about it. I feel like I'm going crazy and blowing this up more than it needs to be. How do I get my boyfriend to take this more seriously? And there are some comments. Comment number 1 says, "Well, your boyfriend certainly is stretching your patience. He sounds like a nice guy who likes attention and is excusing it with, 'I just like to make new friends.' What he is ignoring is you feel threatened and uncomfortable, and that is just disrespectful. I'm not saying my boyfriend can't have girlfriends, but I would definitely feel the same way as you if it happened this way. I'm not sure what you can do because if he's not willing to realize what he's doing is sketchy, he will make you look like a bad guy and controlling." And OP responds, "He definitely has other girlfriends, some I am also friends with and some not, who I don't have problems with because they are genuinely friends. June's behavior doesn't feel friendly to me, but I don't want to force my decisions on my boyfriend of who he can and can't associate with. I just want him to maybe set a boundary. I think currently he's slipped into the mindset that if he leaves it alone, the issue will go away." Comment number 2 says, "He likes the attention. He knows she likes him. Just tell him to set a boundary. If he doesn't, tell him that that's okay and you'll just have your own guy friends who only want to be friends with you. And you'll have them over for hours at a time at your place." And that's the end of that story. Wow. Yeah, what do you think OP should do in this situation?
I would be like, there's only 2 options here. Like, you're either so blind that you can't see this,
Yeah.
or you see it and you don't care.
Yeah.
And you like it. So either one of those gives me concern about the future of our relationship, because if you are so blind to something like this, what's the other thing you're going to be blind about?
Right.
Like, where does this end? Because this is just a common sense level of like interaction with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
it's like clearly not like come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Come
can
on.
I see your apartment? Yeah. And then she's there for 2 hours. Why
Yeah.
are you talking to her for 2 hours? You have a girlfriend.
Literally.
You're like, oh, I told her I have a girlfriend. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
but shouldn't you feel weird that there's some strange girl who went, yeah, like as soon as she found out you wanted to talk to her? By the
Yeah.
way, that was,
And she caught you alone in an elevator, and she was able to talk to you finally.
and is following you around wherever you're going on this trip. It's like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if you can't, if you can't just respect the fact that I, your girlfriend, am uncomfortable by this dynamic you have, it's like, oh, but my girlfriend doesn't like her.
Yeah.
It's like
Like,
I'm
no-
breaking up with you just because you're dumb.
Right.
Sorry.